John.
The trick to being able to decipher the news, I love what the example you just gave with Republican and Democrat glasses, right? Do you remember the original 3D, Will? You were a kid, I was a kid. The original 3D. You put on a pair of glasses, it was a blue lens and a red lens inside of paper glasses. Do you have a pair? Yes!
They came with the projector that I have. I've never opened them, but yeah.
So when you watch a 3D movie without those glasses, you can't see squat. You just see you see red flashing and blue flashing and things don't make any sense. You can't even really decipher what the object is on the screen. But then when you put those glasses on, not only does it become clear, but it becomes three-dimensional. What happened there is the information going through one eye was different than the information that had to go through the other eye. The only way to get the full picture was to have both forms of information processed through a filter so that you could see the full image. It's the same way with the news. Republican-leaning, right-leaning news is heavily slanted. It's all the red noises on the 3D screen. Liberal-leaning news is also very noisy. It's all the blue squiggles happening on the screen. But you have to look at both sources to get a clear picture. And I would argue that not only should you be looking at liberal news and conservative news, but you should also be looking at foreign news. You should be looking at news in a foreign language that you run through a Google Translator device. You should be listening to all sorts of different forms of information, from podcasts to ebooks to newspapers, right? Because the more information you take in, the way you find fact is you find where everything overlaps. When CNN says the same thing as Fox News about one specific issue, that's how you know it's fact. Otherwise, everything else is just single-sourced. You have to have multiple sources. It's just like casting an azimuth and triangulating your location on a map. You have to cast multiple directions before you can triangulate your location. Just like the 3D glasses, you have to see multiple colors in order to see the real image.
Yeah. I mean, that totally makes sense now, but it's so crazy in our society, obviously, where people will just be like, I saw it on Facebook, and it said that there's a monster that lives outside your house, and okay, and you can't get down any deeper. And I also understand, in the world that we live in, for the masses, let's say once again, that it's hard to take the time when you see that first headline to then go, all right, let me learn Russian, or let me go find some Russian sources. How do I do that? Which are the good Russian sources, or at least let's run that through the Colombian newspapers to see what they're saying. And you know what's really funny is that as an exercise for I don't know if we've ever talked about my languages, but I speak 9 languages. And so one of the things that I do is, at the most recent time that I did this, is I will read multiple things in multiple different languages, right? And a lot of news sources, right? Especially because a lot of times in news articles and things like that, you have very complex, very official, formal words. It's a push for your cognitive load on a language. I read about the death of, is it Ivanka Trump? I always get these ones messed up. Is it Ivana, or the ex-wife of Trump? I read, just in every language, I read an article on her, not to try to decipher anything, but just as a practice. It just happened to be something that was in the news in the day that I was doing it, and it's very easy for me to find information on. So that's why I did it. But what was interesting about it is that obviously there's no controversy on whether or not she passed away or not. But what you choose to highlight was different than what you in each country compared to their view on Trump, how they feel about her, what they want to talk about in the news. I mean, the Russian one was very, very detailed on her, and not at all really focused on him for whatever reason, And then you come over here, the Germans were talking about Trump. The Americans obviously were talking about Trump. The Spanish one was heavily on President Trump, is what I'm saying. And so it was really weird to see how they chose to put forth the news, where it was really this woman who passed away, which was the center, but it was then used as, hey, this is a chance for us to just say X, Y, and Z about whoever, right?